If you are someone who has a specific purpose in your life, you're talented, you're gifted, but the idea of seeing your dreams come into fruition seems daunting or almost impossible, you're not going to want to miss this next episode. My next guest is living his life on purpose, and he talks all about that right after this. What is mindset? Our mindset is based on what we believe, and anything we believe in, we put into motion. I have spent my life putting the mindset of perseverance into motion, and now I am here today to share my journey along with others whose mindsets have changed the course of their lives. Hi, I'm Mindset Coach Lorraine Lindsey, and I believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. So are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of the Lorraine Lindsey podcast show. We are all about mindset, where we believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. And today we're going to tap into purpose, like you having this creative thing, this talent, this gift, this ability, and knowing the steps that it takes, the setbacks, but being, intentional about fulfilling that purpose. And I have an amazing guest on the show who I met, it's been a couple of years now that I met you. And you are doing just that. You are living your life on purpose. You are incredibly, incredibly talented.
Thank you.
And I thought that it would be great for you to share your story, share your dreams, all the projects you're doing, and how you got to where you are thus far and where you're planning on going.
Yes.
So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dru Young to the show. And a little bit about Dru before we get into the show. Dru was born in Southern California and grew up there for part of his life. Since Dru was a kid, he has always been entertaining, from elementary school talent shows to drumming in church since the age of 8. Performing at home for his family, he has always had a passion to make others smile through his art and gifts. Dru made his professional acting debut in 2009 and has never looked back. He has made appearances in a number of films, television, and theater productions and music projects, working with some incredible names in the industry. He has worked for over a decade with some major networks such as BET, CBS, MTV, and more. He loves acting and storytelling. This is something so unbelievably gratifying about playing different roles and telling different stories while putting his own twist on each performance and character. Along with traveling the globe and making an impact to others through music and art and performance, he loves God and gives God all the glory.
Absolutely.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Put God first, right?
All day, all
right.
the time.
And he is such a guiding force in the light. So talk to us, tell us, start from the beginning. Just tell us about yourself. You grew up in Southern California, and understanding your gift from an early age.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you said, I grew up in Southern California. Grew up in a small city called Riverside, Moreno Valley. And yeah, I grew up in the church. So, I kind of, since the age of 3, I've always had a passion for music. Always had a passion for instruments. My main instrument was the drums, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I played the drums in church. I just remember going to church and seeing that was the first thing that I seen. It was just so loud and so like moving that I had to figure it out. And by the time I was like 4, I was like, making beats, and one day
making beats, huh?
Yeah, like making beats, like literally, like I would take pots and pans and learn how to drum and keep a cadence. And then like every week at church, I would literally stand by the drums and ask if I can like play after church and stuff like that. So I developed it. And when I was like 8 years old, I was at church and I came one Sunday and the pastor was like, "You love those drums, don't you?" He was like, "If you come to a rehearsal, I may let you play one day." So I came to rehearsal, and ironically, this rehearsal, the drummer that was playing, he was a mechanic, and he hurt his hands working on a car.
Oh.
So yeah, so I came to that rehearsal, and the pastor was like, "Yeah, let him play, like teach him the songs." And even though I wasn't like the best or the greatest, he just was like, let the Holy Spirit like just flow
Guide you.
and just guide him. And it was great. And after that, I started playing.
And how old were you when that happened?
I was 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started with the drums.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that develop into music and singing? Because you have an incredible singing voice as well. And when did you realize that not only you musically, instrumentally inclined, but you're vocally inclined as well?
Yeah.
Like take us on that journey.
So what happened was, and that's why I always mention the drums, because it's always like going back to the basic, going back to the root of where it began.
Mm-hmm.
And the drums is where it began. And in church, I'm playing for a choir. I'm playing behind the choir and I'm like, dang, the piano sounds great. The organ sounds amazing. The guitar, the bass, all of that sound amazing. So I'm like, wow, I can learn all these things. But then I love the moving of the voice. The singers that would sing. I just was like, man, I want to do that too. So I started singing along as I played in church. And one day I asked if I can have a mic to sing, and they were like, you don't need to do all of that. Just play the drums. So at home I just started to take on, like actually learning the words to the music, because like maybe I can step out and sing in the choir. And long and behold, that's kind of what I did. I kind of moved out of the drums and started to sing, but then I love the drums, so I stuck with it. I got back into it and kept doing it, but I just sang along with the music as it was going. And
Do you
then
still play drums?
I do still play the drums. I don't currently play in a church, but
Okay.
I did play in a church the majority of my life.
Wow.
My church here in Las Vegas actually moved out of state. So then that's when I stopped playing in the church.
Okay.
So and then I kind of got busy with a professional like acting career and singing career. And it didn't give me the time to be able to like rehearse with the
Gotcha.
with the choir or the church.
So this talent of yours was obviously very innate. It was something that was natural inside of you.
Yeah.
And I think, and what I would love, and what I love about your story is, a lot of times we talk to people who don't know what their purpose is, or they don't understand it quite. But you were very clear from a child that these were things that were gifts inside of you, and you had your own way of kind of pursuing it. You were very assertive in wanting to be a part of that thing that was calling you.
Yeah.
What do you think that was about, or where do you think that came from for you?
I honestly believe it came from my family, and definitely. Well, let me say this: I believe it came from God for sure. Because since I was very young, I had a very strong relationship with God. My mom always kept me in the church. My grandmother kept me in church. I was church bred, so I know it was God. But at the same time, you need your family to kind of cultivate that, and they
Right.
never steered me like, no, that's not what you want to do. My mom always told me, do what you love to do what you want to do. So so that's kind of what started that that the search for the purpose. And I had an experience with doing talent shows, and I seen how it made people feel, me singing and me doing music in general, just whether it was the drums or the guitar or the piano, and it just brought people together, and it just made people smile. So I was like, okay, this feels good.
It feels good.
So yeah.
And what's interesting about that too is like when you start one thing, that you feel pulled to and you start it, sometimes just by starting and getting into it, it births other things for your life, like you said, the drumming, then you started noticing the music, and then that gave you life to your voice. And I always tell people that we all have a purpose, and sometimes we're not clear on what that is, or we don't think that we do because we've blocked it or because we're afraid of it. But in truth, we kind of always kind of know. And it's that thing of like, just start that one little thing that's pulling at you and see which direction it takes you. Because even for me, I used to sing when I was younger with my sisters, and I always had this idea that I was supposed to be in front of people and bring people together in some way. And I thought I was going to do it vocally, but turns out I wasn't I was very afraid of that. I had imposter syndrome and all this stuff, but I found another way. And when I get on stages now and I can speak to people, it was like entertaining that led to something else. Do you feel like the drums and kind of getting into the drum thing led you into your music? And then how did that land into you wanting to get into film and acting?
Yeah. So, I believe that your purpose is ever growing. I believe that your purpose is a seed that you plant and continue to water. So, the branches, as they continue to sprout and bear fruit, I believe that it just one thing after the other just kind of rolls in what is attached to your purpose. So yeah, I believe that. So what happened with me is the drums led to music. Music led to like watching others like Michael Jackson, Sammy Davis Jr., Sam Cooke, like these artists on TV. And then I was like, oh, wow, they're on TV. And then I started to see them playing movies. I was like, oh, you can play in movies too? And then I started to discover like Will Smith and Jamie Foxx and, all of these, Martin Lawrence, all these different actors. And I had an innate ability to kind of be funny and make people laugh and smile. So I was like, wow, this is
I
so
can do it all.
amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do it all. And like I said, my mom never limited me. She never would limit me, or my father or my grandmother would never limit me. they were always like, yeah, go for it, do it. Like my mom literally in everything I wanted to do, she would tell me, sign yourself up, I'll sign the paper, whatever it is
I
that you
love
want to
that.
do.
So you had that support, you had that tribe behind
yeah.
you. How did you know for you, especially when you're multi-talented, right? And you have all these gifts and talents, how did you know where to start, or did you?
No, I didn't know where to start. I just knew that I needed to start and I wanted to start. So,
Okay.
and I just knew that to act on the feeling of starting,
Mm,
like, okay, act on that feeling and take action and just, you'll end up somewhere,
mhm.
and you just keep learning on how to sharpen it and sharpen it. And one door leads to the other. And obviously having, gratitude and being grounded, and obviously the support system is very important,
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
asking questions. I asked a lot of questions and I read a lot. I still do. I study.
Mhm.
Whenever I came into contact with someone that was even close to doing what I wanted to do, I always asked the question like, "Hey, so how do I do this? How do I do that?" And they were always willing to answer the question, or even take me under their wing and to show me. You
I
know.
love that you say that, because I think that that's imperative. I think that's so important part of your growth. And this is one thing actually that I teach when I coach is people come to me saying I need a change. It's like, well, you don't need a change, you need to cultivate.
Hmm.
And you kind of alluded to that by saying, that there's an essence in you. It's your seed.
Hmm.
And it's like, it could start off as a seed, which may have been the drums, as an
Right.
example for you. And I'm going to plant that seed somewhere in an environment where it has an ability to grow, because the essence of that seed is there. And that seed became a sprout, and it was maybe starting to sing.
Yeah.
And then eventually this. And like you said, it's one branch after another when you plant the seed and you create an environment where it can be cultivated.
Hmm.
Because the essence is always the same. It's just, it changes. The essence is the same, but it changes as it grows, right? It
Yes.
just becomes a different version of itself.
Hmm.
So talk to us about, okay, so you're in the church, you're drumming and you start to sing and you're doing all this stuff. How did we get down this path? Because we're gonna get to how you
Hmm.
actually started performing your own show,
Yeah.
the characters you were playing in these performances, the films and things like that. So I kind of want people to go down this
Yeah.
this pathway with you. So what was next after church and the drums and things like that? What was the next thing for you that you said, this is the next thing I need to do?
So, well, it really started in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, high school, I started to kind of attract a lot of attention with, just people in school. I danced. I was in every club, like I said, from elementary school. Same thing happened in junior high
Okay.
school. Same thing happened in high school. So I was an athlete. Um, and then I wanted to do theater
Okay.
in high school. Now, long and behold, they didn't give me theater because I was an athlete, and a lot of things conflicted, and that's another story.
Yeah, it's
But
interesting
my
actually.
senior year,
Uh-huh.
it's funny because like I signed up for everything, but I signed up for the Marines.
Interesting.
Yeah, I signed up
Okay.
for the Marines to
Why
go.
did you do that? What was the
It
decision
just
behind that?
it was a passion of mine, like really just to. I mean, as an athlete, and as I was growing my body, I was getting bigger, and I had friends that was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go into the army when I graduate, or I'm gonna be in the Navy." So, and then they would often come to the school and like recruit. So
Mm.
my friend was like, "Hey, you want to sign up to the Marines?" And he actually did. He made a career out of the Marines. He's actually a actual commercial pilot now,
Oh
but he
wow. Wow.
went all the way through and was a pilot in the Marines and everything. So
So it's interesting because I'm gonna kind of interrupt you right there, because I think this happens to a lot of people, because there's this one thing and then there's this other thing that may seem like it's the right pathway
yeah.
because it maybe make more sense,
Hmm.
right? Was that kind of what you were thinking when the Marines came to you, or was that also something that you were called to? And how did you did you join the Marines?
No, so I
Okay.
was gonna get to that.
Okay. Sorry.
So what happened was is the Marines came. I was I just thought it was a great thing to do.
Okay.
To serve the country. To also they were like, hey, yeah, you can come play football in the Marines because I was an athlete. So I was like, and they didn't give me theater until my senior year. Now I signed up for the Marines like my junior year.
Okay.
Like, well, I didn't. You can't really sign. You can kind of like start the process of going
Okay.
into, and they let
Gotcha.
you do like the boot camp summers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was doing, and so with going into the Marines, my thought was, okay, I can go play football over there. I had scholarships, but they were like, yeah, we give you a scholarship to go here. You can go to college, study criminal justice and psychology. And I was like, okay, sounds great. Good plan.
Mm-hmm.
If all those fails, you'll be a Marine and be a great service to your country.
Right.
And my senior year, they gave me theater because there was no more electives I could take. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
interesting.
so
Okay.
my senior year, I got theater, and my teacher found out that I can act. Now, I had been asking since my freshman
So
year.
what do you mean she found out you can act? Were you acting before?
So no, so I
Okay.
wasn't acting. So what
Okay.
happened is we had a project, and my project blew her away in class. So she was like, "Oh wow, you can act." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been asking for theater my whole my whole high school."
Yeah.
So she was like, "Will you compete for the school? Will you compete for me?" I was like,
Oh.
"Compete?" I had no clue that you can compete in acting.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So I compete. She sent me to regionals. I did regionals. I did great in regionals. So I made it to state, and at state,
Wow.
I got a superior, which is the highest you can get,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, "Hey, you're going to nationals." So I'm like, "I'm going to nationals." So now I'm competing against the nation.
This is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Well, it's crazy because you've been wanting to go this whole time.
Yeah.
And it finally came and it like catapulted.
Yeah.
Yeah. But continue. Sorry, it's interesting.
So she's like, "Yeah, you're going to nationals." So my family was excited. But here's the thing. I was already planning to enlist into the Marines. So it was either go to boot camp straight out of like high school. It's like you're going to boot camp, or it was go to nationals. So I was like trying to figure it out. Yeah, trying to balance what was gonna happen. And what happened was that someone told me, they said, "Hey, Dru, look, you can go to the Marines and be a Marine, and go to college and do all these great things, and be guaranteed a decent life, or you can take a chance on your dream, right? And you can play a Marine in a movie, or you can be anything you want to be in any of the movies or shows or anything,
Right.
So I kind of took the route of, hey, I can always go play a Marine in a movie or in
That's how
in
you
a
rationalize
show.
it. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can be whatever I want to be and still be in my purpose.
So when you were in that crossroad, okay, and this is so great, and I love that you said that because I feel like a lot of people can relate to, because I've been in crossroads myself. And here it is, these two magnificent things that you could be doing, right? Did you already kind of know in your heart really where you wanted to, which direction you wanted to go, but were maybe afraid or thought that would be a bad decision? Did you know, or did you really need someone to kind of give you some guidance?
No, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew where I was supposed to go.
Yeah.
It was just fresh. It was new to me because, I took on being an athlete. Like I said, my body was different. I ran track, played football. I did all these things. So my body was different. And my mind was like, okay, I want to go be a macho man kind of.
Right.
But in theater was kind of looked at like, okay, you were a little soft if you did theater.
Gotcha.
I was like, I know who I am though. I know what's in that though. Like there's a lot more to that. So that's why I was like,
Love that.
I'm going to do the theater thing. And that's what I did. I went to nationals and I placed really high in nationals and came back and got cast in a professional show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's so crazy. So how did that, okay, I love this story. This is such a great story. Man, because you're following what's intuitive to you. It's your instinct. Your instinct, you went with what you knew kind of, right?
Yeah.
So you get casted in this show. And I mean, it's like happening so fast.
It is.
So this is definitely your thing. So talk to us about that. What was that like? What did that do? Did it change things for you? Did it change who you were or how people saw you? What happened with that next thing? Because that's a big jump.
Yeah, it did. And what it changed was, remember I told you I played the drums.
Yes.
So that was a challenge, jumping into professional shows and trying to balance rehearsals and all of those different things. And then a lot of the time in church, you have those church people sometimes. It's like, hey, well, if you're playing the drums here at church, you can't be in the world and doing secular
Worldly
music
stuff, yeah.
or worldly stuff. So, and I was starting to make my own music as well.
Okay.
At the same time, because that's kind of what theater brought. It brought me back to the root of where I was supposed to be.
Now you're getting fruits from your
Yeah,
team. We
exactly.
talk about the cultivation, right?
Exactly. I'm meeting people that are like making their own music. They're they're not only traveling and doing Broadway musicals, they're doing their own music, they're doing film, they're doing television, they're all over the place. So I'm like, wow, I can do that. So I kind of took that on, and from there I just started meeting a ton of people. I ran into one of the Vegas natives, which is Neo here, and
Neo.
And his family. Along with my mentor. Well, I actually started meeting a lot of mentors. My first mentor, his name is David Wallace. He was on the radio here, 88.1 in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
They called him Preacher Man. And he recognized my talent. And he's like, man, we had a conversation about it. And he was like, I'd love to artist develop you. So that's what he did. We spent months and months just following through like videos, and he worked with my voice, and kind of taught me a lot about the industry. Took me out to LA. I met other celebrities and stuff like that, and it just started to happen.
Unfold.
Yeah,
and that's the thing too. It's like when you put it into motion, right?
Yeah.
And faith without works is dead. I mean,
Absolutely.
God will have something for you, but you have to have the faith to put it to work. And you did that. And because I think, again, a lot of people who have ideas and purpose and something they want to do with their life, sometimes they're afraid because they don't know where to start. But it's like, just start. Wherever you know to start, because what will happen is when you're in it, people will come into your life that will help. Yeah, they just start showing up. But my question for you, because this is interesting, like you said, you're in the church. There are some people that look at that other side of it as secular. It's like worldly. It's not of God. How did you battle that? Because again, when we're doing that thing and people are seeing us, you're going to get naysayers. You're going to get people that don't understand. And even if their intention is good, some people they mean well, but they're meaning it from shaped by their own lens and how they see things. How were you able to move forward with that side of things when maybe there were people that were saying, it's too worldly, it's sinful or whatever? How were you able to push through that?
It's a good question. My support system, my grandmother, my mom, my dad, like asking, and they're just like, hey, look, this is your life, you have a relationship with God. You know how to sit down and pray and ask for the answers. And God was like, hey, yeah, that's what I put you here for. There's purpose in everything that you're doing. You might not see it fully, but I see the full picture.
Right.
So I just took that and was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just keep going at it no matter what people say, and yeah.
And there it is. So now you are in Hollywood, you're meeting celebrities and famous people and all different calibers, right? From musicians to all of it.
Yeah.
How long did you do the show you did? And then what was next after that?
So I did that show for about a year.
Okay.
And then another show came.
Oh.
Like one show led to the next. And then right after that show, I started to perform my own music and cover songs and doing actual singing. Like actually getting my feet wet on the stage by myself.
No, were the shows musicals or are they music, or was it just acting?
Are you mean my shows that I was doing after the two shows?
You said that right after you got the nationals and you got your first show.
Okay, yeah.
Was that a acting show or was it musical?
So they were acting and music. So it was like musicals.
Okay.
So yeah,
gotcha.
so you would have heavy acting but also heavy singing.
So like shows. Broadway type stuff.
Yeah, Broadway musicals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
right. I just wanted to clarify because I wasn't sure. All right.
And then I jumped into writing my own music, getting with like a group, and writing music with other people, and just like getting my feet wet as a solo artist on stage, as well. So after I did that for a while, I got cast in another show and met the next mentor. And when I met the next mentor, it kind of started to zoom from there. Yeah, because other shows just came back to back to back to back to back.
It's interesting too because you did 1 year in high school theater, and now you're doing Broadway musicals.
Yeah.
What was that transition like? Was it intimidating for you? Because I would be like, oh my God, where do I even start?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and you can definitely get lost and discouraged at some point.
Okay.
Because, but the thing that I love though is that I've always had a brain that was kind of like, I can do anything, So, I actually had schools calling. Like I was supposed to go to AMDA at one point, but I was already, touring it professionally. So it was like I tried to go to AMDA, but I just never had the time.
Wow.
I went. I toured the campus. I talked to the counselors. I was getting started, and it just never happened. I got cast in another show.
Do you regret it?
No,
because you were already on the pathway.
Right. Just something kept telling me that you're going to be okay. And we live in that age now. We're like, I don't knock college at all, but I mean, if you can get your feet wet in the industry, I mean, you should be pretty good.
If you can get into the skill directly and get the trade hands on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I totally agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And at the same time, I started getting advice and I was like, hey, take acting class, do workshops, keep sharpening what you're doing. Don't just sit and, wait for another show to come. Like you have to continue to do that.
To stay in practice.
And network. And that's what I did for a long time. And that's like, it's so ironic because that's how I ran into doing shows for BET.
Okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about that. It's interesting as I'm telling you, it's so crazy, Drew, because as I'm listening to you, I'm also thinking about myself and uh so many times in my life, at different times in my life, there's been a very specific call in my life that I'm very certain of,
Yeah.
and just being afraid of it. And there are times when, like you said, I get into motion and I get the momentum, and people pop up that give me. It's one of the reasons why I'm in the studio, as an
Yeah.
example. And then when certain opportunities come, I get so afraid that I sabotage it or I run away from it. And so I'm listening to you, and you were so steadfast. You just stayed the course. And so even listening to you, I'm feeling like, all right, Lorraine, keep it going. Keep running the course. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's just,
No.
it's very inspiring. And I hope it feels the same way for others as it's feeling for me, even for me right now.
Yeah.
But okay, so you're like, don't sit and wait. I think that's such great advice. Stay in your craft. Be learning even if you're not working, be learning.
Yeah.
And so that led you to, I interrupt you, I'm sorry.
So yeah, just stay the course, keep learning, keep growing. So what I used to do is I would sneak into shows.
Okay.
So I would sneak into concerts, right? And I'm not going to mention whose concert I snuck into because I kind of know these people now. And in the industry, it's funny. I mean, I would tell this story like one day and let it out. Well, no, I'll tell whose show I snuck into. I snuck into Chris Brown, Usher, Trey Songz concert.
How did you sneak in?
So
Because
like,
I need to know so I can do the same thing.
yeah, no, like my good friend, we always used to sneak in together because we just wanted to learn. We were so young, we used to sneak in everywhere. Like if you act like you belong, if you show up and you act like you belong there, no one can
usually
tell
don't.
you.
That's true.
Yeah, no one can tell you you don't belong there.
I have a funny
And-
story real quick. I had a friend of mine, and he was underage. I think he was maybe 18 or 19 or something. And he went into the grocery store where because Las Vegas, we have slot machines in the grocery store. And he, for whatever reason, decided he was going to put $20 in the machine, and it hit some jackpot.
Oh wow.
And he was so excited, but he was underage. But exactly what he did is the lady asked for his ID, and he was like, I'm just going to play it off like I'm 21. He's like, here you go. His ID clearly said he was underage.
Exactly.
But because of his confidence in presenting her, she paid him out.
Yeah, she didn't even look
So it's so
probably.
funny you
Like
say
she
that.
probably seen the date he was born
And didn't even compute it till like, when he was long gone.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you're exactly right. So, okay, so you sneak into this concert.
Yeah, so I sneak in the
Confidently,
concert,
obviously.
confidently,
Yeah.
confidently. I was so confidently they gave me a credential.
That is,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And this night it was weird because my friend decided not to come,
Okay.
and I decided I was going to go anyway.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because what was the intention there? What? Because you're not just sneaking in to watch a free show.
No.
You had intention.
yeah. I had intention to really see what it was like backstage. See who I could meet. We always knew that there was going to be somebody back there we can network with.
Okay.
See girls.
Mhm.
That was
Yeah.
really the thing too. It was Usher, Trey Songz,
Yeah.
and Chris Brown. It was
So
like
there's plenty of girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, so that was the motivation as well. But really, I was a student, so I really just
Okay.
wanted to like learn and see what it was like. I wanted to see this tour buses backstage and outside and the security. I wanted to see all of those things.
Wow.
Because I felt like one day that's going to be me.
I love
you
it.
know? So long and behold, I got in. They gave me a credential, and I ended up in. I'm not gonna say whose dressing room I was in. So I ended up in someone's dressing room.
Okay.
And everyone like ended up walking out. They did their prayer, and they didn't even realize they thought I was a part.
All right.
So everyone leaves, and I'm just like, man. I sit there for a minute, like just grateful, like, man, how did I get in here? Like, this is wild. And then somebody came back in. Somebody was like, hey, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I work for such and such. And she was like, oh, you do? She's like, that's cool. She's like, who are you? And I told her who I was. I just made up this. I'm with media. She was like, with such and such's team. And she was like, oh, wow. She's like, that's funny because I'm such and such tour manager.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like, busted, right?
Oh
So I'm thinking it's over. I'm thinking they're going to get security and
Right.
kick me out. And she was like, so she was like, so just tell me why you're like really here. So I just kind of broke down and told her, I was like, no, I'm really just, I snuck in. I told her I snuck in and I just was coming to learn, and she was like, you're so handsome. You're so cute and just so innocent. Like, and I just feel something about you. I'm going to make sure you never have to do this again. It was like cut short the story because it was a little longer, but I'll make sure you never have to do this again. She was like, take my email, take my number. She said, email me. And we'll talk, and I'm going to introduce you to somebody. And lo and behold, she introduced me to my mentor in Hollywood now, who is one of the biggest producers in Hollywood that connected me to BET. And I've been working for
Wow.
BT ever since. There hasn't been.
That
I think
is
it was maybe
so
1 or 2 years that I
crazy.
haven't done the BT Awards or the Grammy Awards, the Oscar Awards, all these different shows that you see on TV.
Wow.
And I remember the first time. I remember the first time, like stepping on the stage, doing the BT Awards, and I remember as a kid, and I get choked up because I used to think that they were fake.
Mm.
I used to think that they were fake. And when I stepped on the stage, I told myself, I was like, I'm here.
I feel that. Wow.
And like, I was like, wow, it was Samuel L. Jackson over here. It was Shaka Khan over here. It was,
Wow.
everyone was like Brandy, and everyone was like on stage getting ready. Because I was at rehearsal. And I was like, wow, like this is the stage that Michael Jackson was on, Sammy Davis Jr. was on, like all these people. I was like, wow, I'm here. So
That is really, really incredible. Wow. Man, this is so good. This is so much better than I thought it was going to be, man. You got me like, this is really beautiful. I just love the way you're sharing this story. Wow. So what next? So you're doing the BT because I met you kind of it was a random thing. I think
Yeah.
we were at the cigar place, right? And you were there with your friend.
Yeah.
And we were just happened to be all sitting next to one another, and we sparked up a car. And you're very magnetic, right? And you, the way you articulate yourself and the way you say things, it's just there's an intrigue I think it comes natural when people meet you. I would think, at least that was my experience.
Thank you.
And then here's this young, handsome man, just having a conversation, and then you start to talk about your show.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, you have a whole show? And you're like, yeah, it's just me doing these 3 characters. And you start to tell me, and I'm like, I have to come see this show.
Yeah.
So I rounded up my friends, and I was on my feet. I was dancing. I was emotional.
Wow.
I was crying at one point. And then when I was watching, I forgot it was you. I was being transcended. It was like when it was Sammy was Sammy.
Yeah.
When it was Sam Cooke, it was Sam Cooke, and Ray Charles.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about that a little bit. So how did you get to a point where you're in Las Vegas, like entertainment capital, right? With your own show in Las Vegas, your own production. Did you put all that together yourself? I mean, you got costumes and changes and it's all your vocals.
Yeah.
You're not lip singing these amazing, talented people. And the difference in vocal ability, I mean, Sammy Davis Jr. is a lot different than Sam Cooke, than Ray Charles. And you just get into these characters. So talk to us about the show and why those were the 3 that you selected.
So it's 4. So you
Or 4. Wait,
Marvin Gaye.
Oh, and Marvin Gaye.
Yeah,
oh my God, how could I forget Marvin Gaye?
He's the closer. But so what happened is the country was down for a few years, and entertainment was down for some time. So in that time, I just was trying to figure out what I can do to kind of bring my entertainment life and keep it alive, which I did. And I just cultivated these characters that I had been doing before.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine came to me and was like, hey, I'm opening in a theater and I'd love for you to come put a show in there. Let me help you put your show on. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, for sure. He's like, you have a show? I said, yeah, I have a show ready and written already.
Did you?
Yeah, okay. I did. So Iconic Soul, I had it sitting. I didn't have it fully named all the way, and I didn't know exactly for sure what I wanted to do. I had multiple shows that I had been writing since during COVID.
And was it just, did you always have this thing in your mind that this was ultimately what you would be doing, or was it just because it was COVID and it was just downtime?
No, I knew that I wanted to tell the story of some of these characters.
Okay.
Very important to tell the story of a lot of these characters, especially like Sam Cooke.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very much so what I wanted to do. I look up to Jamie Foxx a lot, like growing up as an actor, singer, that, person that did all these different things, played keyboard, like all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So in writing this show, I knew that this would be something I can tell all their stories in. And when he said I wanted to help, bring your show to the theater to help open the theater, I said, well, yeah, I have a show for you. And I was like, I got to tell these stories.
I love it.
They
say it's like someone would look at them, oh, you got lucky. What's that saying? Luck is when opportunity meets being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You were prepared.
Absolutely.
you just needed that opportunity and be like, because it wasn't like, here's a theater, can you do something? And you're like, yep, and then you got to scramble. No, you were ready. So
Absolutely.
you always, I love how you're so visionary about your life.
Yeah.
So, okay, so he's building this theater. You have these 4 characters, and you want to be able to tell their story. Why did you choose those characters of all of the? Why wasn't it Jamie Foxx as an example?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why these guys?
So each one of them have an incredible story, from Ray Charles, with dealing with just opposition, dealing with, being challenged as being blind, losing his sight, and still like just keeping the drive in his career and the passion in his career and all the triumph that he went through, like in his mom, in the relationship with his mom and him, and like before she passed away, and he just kept going, losing his brother, all these different things. And I seen someone that I look up to, Jamie Foxx. I seen him do it, so I developed I developed the voice as Ray, like just imitating Jamie Foxx. Yeah. So as I did that, people started to be like, wow, that's great. That's awesome. You sound exactly like him, and Jamie Foxx even told me like,
oh, he did.
Yeah, he told me he's like, wow, like you, it's freaking.
That's actually, wait, so you met Jamie Foxx?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because working for BET, after the BET, that's how Jamie Foxx got his start is with music. After the BET Awards, he would host a party after the BET Awards at his residence in, I'm not going to say where.
Yeah.
I'm sure the whole world knows by now, but yeah, at his house. And he would ask for, all the artists that would come to like, hey, save like 16 or 8 for me, like 8 bars for me so I can hop on your track. So that's kind of how he got big. So after BET Awards one year, I ended up, getting invited and going to Jamie Foxx's house. So.
Oh, how cool is that? Was that surreal for you?
Oh yeah. It was crazy.
You're like, oh my God.
I have like videos and photos of the whole experience, and it's happened multiple times.
I've actually met him a couple times in my younger years, and sometimes they say never meet your heroes. You see people, and then they end up being different than what you expect, and it's disappointing. But he was such a class act and a great guy, and he was a lot of fun and just really cool. Yeah, nothing but good experience because he used to live here in Las Vegas, and he would just hang out like the rest of us, play ping pong and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to get
sidetracked. He's definitely
down
to earth.
He's super down to earth. Yeah. He's actually a really, really cool guy. Yeah. I have some funny stories, but I'll say it off camera. Yeah. Okay, so you've got Ray Charles, and then what about the rest of them?
So moving into Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr., in studying a lot of the greats, Sammy Davis Jr. came up for me. And looking at Michael Jackson and how he took a lot from Sammy Davis Jr. So I always get to the root once again. And I'm like, man, that's why Michael was the way that he was. I mean, obviously there's a ton of others, but Sammy Davis Jr. was one. And finding out his story and all the talents that he had, and he started when he was like 3. And then when he was 7, he got on tour with his dad and his uncle and started tap dancing and singing. Like, it was just like, wow, I connect to Sammy Davis Jr. a lot. And a lot of people don't know, but like Sammy Davis Jr., we stand on Sammy Davis Jr.'s shoulders, a lot of us, especially as like African Americans that are performing. And he helped be able to allow us to walk into the front door.
Yeah, absolutely. He paved the way.
He paved the way.
Yeah.
So those stories were big for me, for Sammy Davis Jr. And then moving into Sam Cooke. Now, Sam Cooke's story is even more unique because Sam Cooke died at a very young age, and his story is so controversial. And they're so afraid to tell Sam Cooke's story.
Why do you think that is?
I can speculate. I can kind of speculate why, but it's so important that it is told because a lot of people don't even know. Like when you sing his like one of his most popular songs, which is "Change Is Gonna Come."
Yes,
people know it as "Born by the River." Right, that's what most young people.
Yeah, because that's how it starts.
That's how it starts. Yeah, so they were like, "That song, Born by the River." That was called "Change Is Gonna Come," and just telling the story on why he wrote that song and how he never got to perform that song. Really, he never really got to.
Which is crazy because that song it's one of my favorite songs actually, and that's when I told you I got emotional when you started singing that song in your show. The way you. It was just like I like you said, music can move and the vocals and just everything, and it was like I remember growing up, my mom listening to Sam Cooke albums and stuff like that. It was almost like I got to see him in life. You know what I mean? Wow. Those people that you hear growing up.
Wow.
And it just made me so emotional. It brought back so many memories for me. And that song is just so moving.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that he never really performed that song.
He never really got a chance to see its success and the success
Yeah.
that the song had. I mean, he performed it, but he never really got to see the success and
That
how
it had,
we
yeah.
really, like, even to this day, how it's still a relevant song.
Right.
You know, we're still fighting for a lot of those things he was speaking about. You know, and some of those things have came to pass, but you know, I think it's just his story is so moving, and we don't even understand or can't even fathom really
Yeah.
his story.
I'm sure you'll tell that story one day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm excited to.
Yeah.
You know, because even watching movies, I would watch movies and hear a song, and I would go back and Google who that song was, and that was Sam Cooke. Like, there's a wonderful
true.
world, don't know much. Like, you know, all those
He's about to start
songs.
singing up in here.
All those songs. I'm like, wow. Like, I think I was watching Hitch. I was watching Hitch with Will Smith, and there was like 2 songs that Sam Cooke sang, and I was like, I never knew that was Sam Cooke.
That's so funny you say that because, again, when I was watching your show and you were doing the Sam Cooke portion, you're exactly right. There were songs you started singing, and I was like, wait, that's Sam Cooke? You're exactly right.
Yeah. And his story of him growing up in the church, his father and his parents being pastors, and you know, his sisters and brothers, they all grew up in the choir. They were in a group called the Soul Stirs, and you know, Sam just kind of stepping out and being a solo artist. So it kind of connected to his story as well.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the similarities. He loved to do photography. You know, that's
Do you do
another.
photography
I do
as well?
photography. Yeah. So
You're
it was
just an all-around artist, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You
So
know what I
just
love
his
too is
story.
I love that you don't just get on a stage because you're talented and you can perform. You really dig deep and you really understand the people that you play.
Yeah.
Even as just entertainers with their music, you really, really, like you said, you read and you do your research, which I think is really special because it gives you, it almost like recreates the person in front of you because you're like, it's almost like you're connected to them in some way.
Yeah.
So what about Marvin Gaye? What was the inspiration with Marvin?
So Marvin, his story was also very impactful, and at the time there was no one really telling Marvin Gaye's story like that, you know. And it took me some time to kind of dive deep, and just how he was such a amazing artist and writer, and the way his mind worked. He had an amazing mind, and his soul, his spirit. You know, he just wanted to give. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to give. He wanted the world to just be at peace. And that's something that I'm 100% about.
I love that.
Is giving and serving, you know, and just the way he died, his tragic death with his father shooting and killing him was just crazy to me. So.
Yeah, it was so sad. I remember my mom was so like devastated, you know, when he passed away. Yeah. So your show was, what was the name of the Motown? I think we have a picture of the name of the show. Yeah. Now it's on a break, right? The Iconic Soul, Motown Trivia, Iconic Soul. Yeah. Are you bringing it back? And will there be new people, new characters and added to it? Or are you taking it away? Or what's going on with the show?
I am 100% bringing the show back. The show will be back sometime this year.
Okay.
I took a break just doing film and, you know, other projects that I've really been passionate about, doing more music and stuff like that. I'm just trying to break out after this whole worldly shutdown for the past few years. So the show will be back. I do intend to add more characters eventually.
You do?
Yeah, just because that's why I kind of named this show Iconic Soul. It doesn't say, you know, who it is or, you know, it's just Iconic Soul. And there's a lot of iconic figures that had a soulful voice. Oh, yeah. That had an amazing story. All of us have an amazing story. Right. But that I can tell that story on stage.
With music.
With music.
Which is so transcending, right? Would you ever do it, or do you always have the vision to do it just on your own, or would there ever be a time when you're like, you know what, I want to incorporate other people?
I want to incorporate other people as well, yeah.
But they're going to have that same...
Yeah, I mean, that same passion for sure.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I definitely want to, you know, incorporate, you know, female artists, you know, other male artists, and I don't know where it can go. Well, I don't know where it can go, you know, but I will say that I see it going very far. You know, and becoming a brand that can move all over the world. Yeah. You know, Iconic Soul is here, Iconic Soul there.
Like a traveling,
with just a different tagline of what it is of, you know, that we're experiencing in the realm of Iconic Soul.
So I want to show, there's a couple pictures of you on stage performing. Yeah. And then I want to talk a little bit about Morning Sacrifice and some of the other projects that you've done. But here you are on stage as, I think, there goes Ray Charles. Ray. Love it. And then you have
do what you do, baby. You know what I mean?
I love it. Man, you were so good. I think, who'd you come out with first? Was it Ray? It was Ray Charles.
Ray hosts the show.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
he
That's
hosts the
right.
show. Yeah.
Man, it was so good. Me and my friends were loving it. So talk to us a little bit about some of these other things. 'Cause you've got film projects in the making. You're going to be playing in some horror suspense film. Ooh, what's that like? I always
Yeah.
wondered when people do scary movies, is it actually scary on set? Or because because I cannot watch scary movies.
Yeah.
I cannot. I just can't do it. I literally watch the movies with my eyes
Oh,
closed
wow.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Something about the suspense and the anticipation, it literally
I think
unnerves
actors
me.
ruin it.
Huh?
Actors ruin like
Do you think so?
horror films. Yeah, because we are looking. Well, I do acting and direct as
Okay.
well, so it's like maybe not all actors, but for me as an actor, I'm like I could tell what's coming up because the way that the shot is, the way that the director
Oh,
put the
okay.
frame. Oh, it's the scary part's coming because I can hear the music change and the build up. You know,
Well,
so
you know
or
that
you know
stuff.
the director.
See, I need to start learning that stuff so I can actually watch a horror movie and be like, oh, I already know what's gonna happen.
Right, exactly. You can tell the storyline if you ever read a lot of scripts, you can tell the storyline based on how the movie starts and how it starts to build. You can be like, okay, I can tell what's gonna
Okay.
happen. I can tell how it's gonna end. Kinda, not really.
Does that
'Cause it's
change for
just-
you when you watch film now then because you know so much? When you watch a movie, do you get to really enjoy it or are you kind of seeing all the the stuff that we don't see as
Yeah.
the layperson?
So it does, but I've learned how to turn the work brain off.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm gonna turn the work brain off and
Just enjoy this film.
enjoy the film. Just watch it. Stop trying to figure it out. Just watch.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, honestly, right now, I mean, it's Black Panther.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was such a great movie. I thought. Like,
I had not watched the first Black Panther, okay? And I went to go visit my son in New York,
Mhm.
and the second one was out. And I was like, let's go. Because we were walking down some part of New York, I can't remember. They have this really old movie theater.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I want to go in that movie theater and watch Black Panther.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you haven't seen the first one. I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'm watching this and I'm freaking crying at the end of the movie, like just sobbing because of obviously he's passed away.
Mhm.
You know that, but the way they kind of honored him, I thought it was beautiful. Plus the storyline was really good. And I never thought I would get into like Marvel or any of those kind
Yeah,
of
me either.
character movies. And then when I got home, of course I had to watch the first one and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm hooked. They
Yeah.
got me.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
my same.
So that's
like,
your favorite. What makes it your favorite right now?
just the story. I'm really big on storytelling.
Okay.
And the story, there was so much that they put into the Marvel film. Obviously, it's Marvel, so Marvel did their best to, tell the story, but just the way that they told the story. I was studying Chadwick for a long time as well,
Okay.
because he did biopics. Obviously, he did like James Brown,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that would get on up. So, and he also did the other biopic with Jackie Robinson.
Oh, that's right.
42.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
and those are some of my favorite movies to watch. So yeah, that's really what kind of had me set. Before that, it was like Bad Boys, the Bad Boys movies with
Oh, did you?
Martin Lawrence.
That's
yeah.
not what I was expecting you to say
Yeah.
at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your films, and then tell us what's next for you before we close up. As where people can find you, they can see your all the stuff you have going on. But talk about your films and what you've got coming on. Let's start with that.
Okay. So yeah, as I kind of took a break from the show and helping another artist build their show, also dived into doing film. Now, I never thought I was going to do horror film. Never.
Okay.
That wasn't my thing. I mean, I feel like I'm a romantic actor. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to be.
Love it.
Romantic drama, comedic actor is my thing. And I kind of got roped into doing the horror film, which is kind of fun though. So my
Yeah.
first film that, well, not my first film. This is the first horror film that
Okay.
I've done. Was The Morning Sacrifice. And
Okay.
it's a vampire love story.
Oh, interesting. So you
Yeah.
kind of got some love in there.
Yeah, but I'm not the vampire.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually get bit by the vampire though in the film. It was a crazy experience, getting bit by the vampire, having to act that,
Out. Yeah.
because I'm a comedic actor. Like I'll bust out laughing, like, and he's biting me, like in the.
So this
in
is
the
a
film.
challenge for you.
Yeah, so it was a challenge. It was extremely fun though. The cast and crew were amazing.
Mhm.
That movie is still in post production. And then the next film is I just wrapped maybe 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and that one is You Should Smile More.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
I've been
another-
told that a lot, by the way.
Really?
Recently.
You watch the film.
Everyone's like, you really need to smile more. You're too serious.
I
That's
think you have
so
a great smile. I
funny.
think you smile all the time. Every time I see you.
Well,
at least.
well, because you make me smile.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'm like, I'm not smiling for you because you don't make me smile. You make me smile, so it's
got
easy.
it.
Yeah.
Got it.
No, I know. It's funny. It's funny. That's the name of the film because literally, even last night I was out and someone said, "You need to smile." I watch your stuff and you're never smiling. I'm like, well, I'm a serious person.
Right. Exactly.
But
And-
okay, so I'm sorry. Talk about
yeah,
that.
and so the young lady that plays the lead, the tagline is "You should smile more," and it's a horror, it's a suspense film, so you can only
Oh, it
imagine.
is?
Yes, you can only
Okay.
imagine what happens to those that tell. That's why it was funny
Oh,
when you
yeah,
said
it's
that.
kinda
I'm
creepy
serious
now.
because she,
Yeah.
that might be a line she says. It's like, "Oh no,
Mm.
I'm a serious person," and then like, "No, you should smile more." Like, yeah. You never know what can happen if you tell a person you should smile more.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely watch the film for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next for you, and how can people find what you currently have going on? And man, I am so like excited to just watch and see how all of this wonderful life of yours is going to unfold because it's so exciting. It just seems like it's never ending.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What's your vision now? The big thing for you?
So my vision now is to plant more seeds. I'm gonna say that first, to plant more
Okay.
seeds, and I'm gonna double back to that. But more film, more shows. But what I mean by planting seeds is helping other people kind of do and navigate the way I was able to.
Mm.
So coaching, artist development, for making myself available, creating courses and
Love
things of that
that.
nature. And people can find me on my social media. Everything Dru Young. It's DRU, spelled like Drew Hill. So it's DRU Young, YOUNG. And that's at everything. That's Facebook, Instagram. I'm working on TikTok.
Okay, you got to get on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm working
That's
on
like-
TikTok. And I'm working on getting back on YouTube as well. So
Okay.
that's what's next is
Okay.
is really sharing my story more, sharing myself more, what I know, my knowledge, and just navigating the industry and helping others achieve their goals as well.
I think that's very sweet of you. That's
So-
very ambitious because you're in the, and yet you still want to help.
Yeah.
What, before we close then, my last question for you is this. For those people that are out there and they have this purpose in their life, what advice would you give to them to either start or to not stop?
Mm.
What would you say?
I would say to that to either to 100% start. Don't no matter where you are, right? No matter what you just start.
Mm.
Turn the fire on, right? And just keep going. So if you've already started and you feel stuck, right? Read a book, on what it is that you want to do. Get into some classes. Don't be afraid to buy the course. Don't be afraid to buy the book. Don't be afraid to take the actual workshop. Like, go and get in front of your craft. Meet more people. Network, because right, they say your net worth is your network.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, or maybe I said that backwards, but people
But
get
yeah,
what we're saying.
your network is
But-
your net worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, get around those that are doing what it is that you want to do, right? And model that.
Mhm.
Ask questions, and you will have what they have. And also too, definitely ground yourself in some spiritual, grounding.
I think
and
that's so important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get in touch with who you are and understand, who God is for sure, and balance.
I
And just
love
go.
it. I so appreciate this. I already knew it was going to be special, but it was more special than I thought. And you've given me some inspiration as well. So I appreciate you for that. And like I said, I cannot wait to see as your tree, you've got this tree with this fruit. I can't wait to see what your orchard will look like
Thank you.
because it's definitely in the horizon for you.
Yours as well.
Thank
For
you.
sure. I see that.
appreciate
For
that.
sure.
I mean, you'll be like, hey, I see
Right.
you. Hey, I see you.
Exactly.
But I appreciate you, Dru. I think you are an amazing, amazing person, and you can come back anytime
Oh,
and
yes.
share
I'll be
anything
back for
you
sure.
want. Yes, please do. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you are just as inspired as I am. And until next time, ciao.